You ever seen a fish drown? Me either. Until I seen the situation in Miami. Mike McDaniel, Tua Tagovailoa. Man, it's time to cut those guys. The situation down in Miami is a mess. This video I wanted to make a couple days ago and didn't get a chance to, but I still have to put it out. They made Daniel Jones look like Johnny Unitas, Peyton Manning, and if you've seen my thoughts on Daniel Jones' game, you know that I am not a big Daniel Jones fan, but he does have a lot of good tools, and we were talking about how Stockton was on the hot seat because he couldn't develop Anthony Richardson. But he stumbled across Daniel Jones, and through one game, the Miami Dolphins made him look great. That situation down in Miami is an awful situation. Mike McDaniel has been outcoached thoroughly the last 2 years. They're a flashy, fast team. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They got Devon Arcane down there. They are speedsters. But with the offense that he runs, it's very predicated on timing. And when you blow, that offensive line up and you put a little bit of pressure on that timing game that they have down in Miami, it all falls apart. And Tua does not look like a quarterback that was worth $50 million a year. I was against him and Trevor Lawrence getting that contract because they got them right behind each other. Tua for the reasons, one is health. The other reason was, to me, I didn't think Tua was that great of a quarterback. Like I said, if everything's going well, Tua is very accurate, everything else. But any type of pressure that comes for Tua he's out of there. You know what I mean? So what we've seen with the Dolphins is they've been the team that's supposed to be going deep into the AFC playoffs the last few years. And they usually get boat raced in games that matter. Anytime big-time teams come up, they do not deliver. And it's a situation where it's time to blow that whole thing up down there. It really is. They already got rid of Jalen Ramsey. He was having issues down there with those guys. Raheem Mostert had a whole bunch to say when he left. Guys have a whole lot to say about the Miami situation. And even Xavien Howard got in on the fun because he is an Indianapolis coach now. And basically he gave the scouting report on Tua. Get him a little bit flustered, get him out of the system. And pretty much in his own words, without saying it, is that Tua is a below-average quarterback. And, it's all good when you're not paying the quarterback. Hey, Tua was a first round or whatever the case may be. And when you're only paying him, $10 million a year or whatever the case may be, that's all well and good. Everybody's a fan of the quarterback until you have to pay him. So, expectations come with that. And now they're in a situation where they've burnt up so much money in the cap. They're in a situation where they're going to have to rebuild. And I'm telling you this, Mike McDaniel is not the guy to do the rebuild with at this point. I think Mike McDaniel needs to go back to being an offensive coordinator. I think he's a player's coach. But that does not mean that he's a leader of men. And that is two totally different things. We've heard so much in the last week or so. We've seen Tyreek Hill going off, and we ain't going to say Tyreek is all the way together either. He has his own legal troubles going on. But they're talking about trading him. And, again, they just paid a lot of guys down there in the last 2 years. And now you're in a situation where you're almost looking like, we got to rebuild. So I don't understand what the play is down there, but I'm going to tell you this. In my opinion, it's time for him to just blow it all up. This is going to be a deep quarterback draft. I think the tone needs to be set down there. Mike McDaniel has to be released. He needs to be released out of his contract, a.k.a. fired. And I think you got to bring somebody in there who can bring some discipline and some stability to the organization. You have to remember, one, these guys are down in Miami. So we all know how the nightlife goes down there and everything else that comes with it. You know, a lot of indulging goes on, so you can't get these guys focused. And like I said, when you look at the head coach down there, he's a very friendly guy, but he's not a stern guy. And I think down there in that setting, you need somebody who can set the tone. And I don't think Tua's that guy either. I think it needs to be a rebuild down there. And, you know, I don't know if you get rid of Tua. I don't know who would take Tua's contract, to be totally honest. I don't think he's that guy that I would take a chance on and be ready to surrender draft picks for him. You know what I mean? He's not that quarterback. So I don't know what Miami does at this point. But, you know, even them trading for Minkah Fitzpatrick just didn't make sense to me. All you're doing is tacking more money on the books. Now, I think Minkah only has a year or maybe 2 left, and then he'll become a free agent. Maybe they figure a way to move him again somewhere by the trade deadline to a team that actually could use a safety. But the way they was getting gashed up and down the field by Daniel Jones, it's a wrap on them. It's a wrap on Miami. They might as well go ahead and send Tyreek Hill somewhere if his legal issues he can get past. Take him for a box of Cracker Jacks. That'll work too. Just restart. Even if they have to delete Tua's contract at this point, delete it. Take the hit. If it's 85, I think it's $85 million in dead cap, that's okay. Take the hit, rebuild through the draft, and make this team actually something that's worth watching. Because the last 3 years, they have not lived up to the hype. And they spent a whole lot of money on this team, and they have not shown anything on the field. So if I'm a Dolphins fan, you got to show me. And it ain't about paying them all this money, and we can't even get out the first round of playoffs. And even with that, we get blown out in all big games. Every time we play a big-time team that we're supposed to be able to stack up against, we get beat. And Mike McDaniel gets out-coached. So, you know, that's all I had to say about this situation. They're in a tough situation, though, and they have to figure out who they want to be and what their identity is. I know they had some type of players-only meeting to make sure everybody was on the same page. 9 times out of 10, those meetings never work. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Should Miami hold on to their roster and try to make a run, or should they just blow it up completely? Leave it in the comments below. To the next video.